There is something happening inside millions of people right now. Something quiet, something invisible, and most of them have no idea it has already begun. If you've ever felt unusually tired after eating a normal meal, if you have ever woken up in the morning already exhausted, if you have noticed that no matter how much you watch what you eat, the weight keeps creeping up anyway, or if you've ever felt a strange, almost desperate craving for something sweet in the middle of the afternoon for no clear reason, then I need you to stay with me for the next few minutes. Because what I am about to share with you is not what most doctors talk about during a 10-minute appointment, and it may be the most important thing you hear this year. My name is Dr. Vincent Halberg. I have spent over 2 decades studying metabolic dysfunction, pancreatic health, and the relationship between blood sugar regulation and the way we feel every single day. I have worked with thousands of patients, reviewed hundreds of clinical studies, and over the years, I have noticed a pattern that most conventional medicine misses entirely. And it is not because the doctors are not skilled. It is because the pattern does not show up clearly on standard blood tests. Not at first. Not until significant damage has already been done. So let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt genuinely, deeply energized after a meal? Not just okay, not just functional, but actually alert, clear-headed, and strong? If you are struggling to remember, that is not a coincidence. That feeling, that energy, that clarity, it depends almost entirely on one thing happening correctly inside your body. And when that one thing starts to break down, everything else begins to shift, slowly, silently, in ways you can feel but cannot quite explain. Here is what I want you to understand. High blood sugar is not the root problem. It is a warning signal. It is your body raising a flag, trying to get your attention, telling you that something deeper has been struggling for a long time. And by the time that flag goes up, the process behind it has usually been building for years. That is the part that most people, and even most doctors, miss. Let me explain what is actually happening. Your pancreas is one of the most important organs in your entire body, and also one of the most overlooked. Every time you eat, your pancreas is called into action. It releases insulin, a hormone whose job is to escort glucose from your bloodstream into your cells, where it becomes the energy your body runs on. When this system works correctly, you feel great. Your energy is stable. Your mind is sharp. Your weight is manageable. Your mood is balanced. But here's the problem. Every single time you eat, especially if your diet contains refined carbohydrates, processed foods, or even things that seem perfectly healthy, your pancreas works. It responds. It produces. And over time, particularly when blood sugar spikes frequently, the cells throughout your body begin to respond less and less to insulin signal. This is called insulin resistance, and it is happening in hundreds of millions of people around the world right now. Many of them do not know it yet. When your cells stop listening to insulin, your pancreas does what any hardworking organ does. It tries harder. It produces more insulin to compensate. And for a while, this works. Blood sugar stays in range. The tests come back relatively normal. The doctor says you're fine. But behind the scenes, your pancreas is under immense, relentless pressure. And just like any system that is overworked for too long, it begins to lose efficiency. This is the silent phase. The phase where nothing shows up clearly on a test, but your body is already sending signals. Fatigue after meals, difficulty losing weight, brain fog, afternoon energy crashes, constant sugar cravings, sleep that never feels quite restorative. Sound familiar? These are not random inconveniences. These are signals. Your body speaking to you in the only language it has. And here is something that very few people realize. This process does not happen overnight. It builds slowly over months and years, while life continues normally, which is exactly why so many people arrive at a diabetes diagnosis feeling completely blindsided. They had no idea the process was already this far along. Now I want to stop here for a moment and speak directly to you. If any of what I have described resonates with what you are experiencing in your own body, I want you to take that seriously, not with fear, but with the kind of honest awareness that actually leads to change. Because here is the truth. The earlier you support your body in this process, the better the outcome. The body has remarkable capacity to restore balance when it is given the right signals. But that capacity is not unlimited. It changes with time. And the window for meaningful response is one that you want to act on while it is still open. I recently began recommending something to my patients who are in this early to middle phase of metabolic stress. Something backed by a growing body of research. Something that works with the body rather than forcing it into an artificial state. And the response I have seen has genuinely surprised me, even after all my years in this field. People reporting that their energy after meals is more stable, that the relentless afternoon crashes are becoming less frequent, that the sugar cravings that used to feel almost uncontrollable are quieting down, that the scale is moving in a direction it had not moved in years. I am not making promises. I am not telling you this is a cure. What I am telling you is that when the body is given the right nutritional environment, when the signals of inflammation are reduced and the pancreas is supported rather than overloaded, something shifts. And that shift is noticeable. You feel it before the numbers on a test even confirm it. If you are curious about what I have been recommending to my patients, there's a link in the description of this video and in the first comment below. I encourage you to look at it, not as a product, not as a sales pitch, but as a resource, as information that may connect some of the dots that have been missing from the conversation you've been having with yourself about why you feel the way you feel. Now let me continue, because there is one more piece of this picture that I have not yet shared with you, and it is the piece that I believe matters most. When insulin resistance progresses unchecked, when the pancreas continues to be asked to work beyond its sustainable capacity, something critical begins to happen at the cellular level. The beta cells inside the pancreas, the specific cells responsible for producing insulin, they begin to experience what researchers call glucotoxicity and lipotoxicity. The constant exposure to elevated glucose and fatty acids begins to impair these cells directly. And here is what makes this particularly serious. Beta cells do not regenerate easily. Once they are damaged, the body's ability to produce adequate insulin becomes permanently reduced. This is a line. The line between a body that is struggling but still capable of recovery, and a body that has crossed into a fundamentally different metabolic state. And the distance between those two places is not always obvious from the outside. People on both sides of that line may look the same, may feel similarly tired, similarly frustrated, similarly confused about why nothing seems to work. But inside, the situation is very different. And the approach that works when the system is still capable of significant restoration is not necessarily the same as what is needed after that capacity has been substantially reduced. This is why timing matters, not as a scare tactic, as a biological reality. There's a window, a real window, during which the body can respond meaningfully to the right kind of support, when inflammation can be reduced, when cellular sensitivity to insulin can be improved, when the burden on the pancreas can be lowered enough that it begins to recover some of its lost efficiency. But that window does not stay open forever. And every month that passes without addressing the underlying dysfunction is a month in which the gradual progression continues. I have seen this play out hundreds of times in my practice. Two patients with nearly identical symptoms at the same point in their lives. One of them makes a change. The other waits. A year later, their situations look very different. 5 years later, they are on completely different trajectories. Not because of anything dramatic, because of the compounding effect of what they did or did not do in a time when their bodies were still most responsive. I am telling you this not to frighten you. I am telling you this because I believe you deserve the full picture. Not the sanitized version where everything is fine until it suddenly is not, but the honest version where the signs that are long before the crisis and where the choices made during that quiet period matter enormously. If you have watched this far, I do not think it is a coincidence. I think something in what I have described today connected with something you have already been sensing about your own body. That quiet, nagging feeling that something is not quite right. That fatigue that seems out of proportion to how you are living. That stubborn metabolic resistance that makes you feel like your body is working against you rather than with you. Your body is not working against you. It is working as hard as it can, but it may be doing so under conditions that make efficiency impossible. And the answer is not to push harder, restrict more, or simply accept feeling this way as a normal part of aging. The answer is to change the conditions, to give the body the support it is asking for before it stops asking. What I have recommended to my patients, what I have seen make a real difference in the lives of people dealing with exactly what you may be experiencing right now, is something natural, something that works with the body's own regulatory systems rather than overriding them, something designed to reduce the kind of low-grade metabolic inflammation that quietly drives insulin resistance and pancreatic stress day after day. The information is in the link below this video in the description and also in the first comment. I encourage you to read it carefully, not because I am asking you to buy anything, but because understanding your options is the first step toward making a real choice about your health. And a real choice made now, while your body still has a capacity to respond, is worth more than any choice made later under more difficult circumstances. The people who look back and feel grateful for the changes they made are almost always the ones who acted when they still had time to act well, not under pressure, not in crisis, but in the quiet, honest moment when they finally decided to take what their body was telling them seriously. That moment for you might be right now. The link is below. Take a look. Your body has been patient with you. You can return the favor.